Welcome to the Buddy and Friends podcast, a podcast about performers. Let's get on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Buddy and Friends. I'm your host, Buddy Katz. I have a very special guest with me today. I've been friends with him since 2018. He's a great performer. He does magic. I want to welcome my guest, Jack. How you doing, Jack?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We've known each other for since 2018. You want to tell us how we met?
We met through, I think it was the DJ Danny show with Hamilton Radio.
Yes.
I can't remember if it was the Christmas show or if it was a different show we were both on, but it was one of those where they had a multitude of entertainers, and you and I were both a part of that.
I believe it was the Christmas show. We did a couple of those Christmas shows together. And I do remember the first time I actually saw you, I'm like, why does this guy look like a goth punk, steampunk person for some reason, or a killer for some reason? I'm like, okay, cool. Then I realized you do magic. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I love it. I got so excited. But talking about magic and performing, what was your early introduction into performing?
So it wasn't magic. I started with plays and musicals. So yeah, they have that, class things in kindergarten and stuff, but in grade school and middle school, especially when the school would put on a musical production or a play, acting and being on stage was something that I very much got into heavily. They didn't necessarily have a drama club, but the township had the recreation center had would put on plays, and I would audition for those. And in school, when they would do the after school like things for rehearsal and put on plays, I got into them from elementary school into middle school. So before I started with magic, I started that when I was about 8 years old. I was into plays and theatrics and being a part of those productions.
Do you remember what shows you were in?
The very first one I can remember, that I have two memories of one. I was the Pirate King in Pirates of Penzance in elementary school, and the one that was most memorable for me was we did it was either called a Tiny Tim's Christmas. It was one of the variants of A Christmas Carol, and I was auditioning for Bob Cratchit. And during the audition, while we were auditioning for Bob Cratchit, while we needed to read, it was just the actors we were auditioning for that part. We didn't have anyone to read, so they said, "Hey, while you're doing it, when you're not Bob Cratchit, can you read the part of Scrooge for the other actors?" And I was, and again, we were kids. I was like, "Yeah, sure." Well, the way that I read Scrooge, they said, "We don't want you as Bob Cratchit. You need to be Scrooge." I ended up getting a part that I didn't audition for, and rather than rotate, which some of the kids were, no one, I guess, either no one really wanted to be Scrooge because he was the mean old guy,
Yeah.
but and there was a lot of lines, but I ended up reading for that part in a way that instead of the way it would be in elementary school, you would be the part during the day, and then there'd be another day performance, and there'd be a night performance, and you would be in one of those shows. But I was Scrooge for every performance because they liked how I read the part. So that was, that was one of the things where I was like, okay, maybe this is something I want to do. And I had so much fun with it, and I loved being on stage since.
That's great. How has performing inspired you throughout your life?
The biggest inspiration honestly comes from the people who watch the shows. So when I perform and I do comedy magic, and it's not just the wow part of the magic, it's them laughing. And when someone's laughing, regardless of what's going on in their life, if they're laughing for that brief amount of time, they've escaped whatever might be going on. They're in that moment of joy and laughter. And that's what continues to motivate me and put me and tell me I'm on the right path and inspire me because it proves that no matter what is going on, in life and the world, we can still find at least moments of happiness and humor. And I think that to me is inspiring. The fact that I can help bring that, and that's what I get from the audience. That reaction is like, oh, that lifts me up, and that allows me to have share in that moment with them, and we kind of have that moment together. So it inspires me to just keep going with that.
Yeah, even as performers, and I know you can agree on this, we know when the crowd is not feeling it. And when they're not feeling it, like,
I've
ooh,
seen some shows. I've seen some
yeah,
shows that the performer, and I won't name any performers because you never want to say that, but and it could they were having a bad day or something, but where the audience is not feeling it, where you're sitting and there's supposed to be a moment of applause and the entire audience is dead silent. It's you feel awkward as an entertainer. You feel awkward for the entertainer.
yes.
It's different than just feeling it's an unnerving feeling in the audience, but it's different when you know what it's like on the stage waiting for that. And it, 5, 7 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but when you have dead silence and they're supposed to be filled with something, that's a
Yeah.
long time.
It's like, ooh, I don't know if this joke landed or not. Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hate that feeling. It's not the best feeling, but
Yeah, we've all had moments where we hope something lands, even if it's short lived. It's like, well, real quick not to have that, and a couple times it might not work for that crowd. Did it work for this crowd? No. If it doesn't work a couple times,
yes,
it's
don't.
take it out of the show.
How did you get into performing magic, and how long had you performed for it? Like perform magic.
So I've been doing magic since I was about 8 years old. The very first magic, my intro to magic, I think in everyone's family, someone knows even a base trick like quarter behind the ear or some card trick. And in that case, in my family, it was my dad. So my dad showed me and taught me my very first card trick, which I still perform at close up shows. Um, just simple deck of cards. I do a little bit of a variation on it, but the trick that he taught me was my introduction to magic. And then we would watch is years and years ago there was something on TV that they would do once a year. It was called World's Greatest Magic,
Hmm.
and it would be the some of the greatest magicians at that time in one show, each doing one bit. Sometimes you'd have one of them, like the Amazing Jonathan was on one year. He came back a few times throughout the show. Mac King was on one year and not just performing, but he would do the little interludes where he would teach a trick. You would also learn a magic trick from some of these expert magicians. So I got into that, and it was a hobby for a long time because I was doing the acting and the singing for school productions, but I always loved magic. And then something happened where I started just becoming more interested in it. I can't remember the exact period of time, but something changed where I did a birthday show or two, and it just became something where it's like, oh, I'm doing my own shows with fun props. So it just became a much heavier interest, and I focused on that. So I've been performing magic for a total, both hobby and professional, for a total of about 35 years. About 17 of those years has been professionally.
Hmm. So as long as I've been doing impersonating Michael, you've been doing magic for just about
Yeah.
that long. Yeah.
Yes.
Who were your influences into magic?
So like I said, my dad is who got me started. So that was my introduction and my inspiration, and I loved that. But if we go and look at, I also had a friend of mine who I met up with, and I learned from, through, and with. His name's Adam Tarbox. I got to utilize some of his resources. But for professional magicians, first off the bat, guy's name is Jeff McBride. He does more theatrical things. It's every trick is this big production. He mixes mime and kabuki theater and all of these things in with his performance. And it's about the performance. You can perform something so immense, even if you're not using the largest of props. And I look at my magic the very same, a very, very similar way. Lance Burton, when I do, especially when I'm in my top hat, my tailcoat, he keeps things very classic and classy. He's the tux magician, does these, very proper stance and He's got beautiful dove work, slow and deliberate. So I've taken some inspiration from him. I do comedy magic, so people like Michael Finney, Jeff Hobson, Wayne Dobson, and Jay Sankey, different styles of humor for all of them. Some people quick with the one-liners, some with whole bits, some with just off the wall things in their stuff. I've taken inspiration from them. I've had the pleasure of meeting some magicians in person, Michael Finney being one of them, Andrew Goldenhirsch, who's an amazing close-up magician, Dan Sperry, who was on America's Got Talent, that gothic magician who did the floss, the lifesaver through the neck with the floss. I met him in person. Fantastic people. Jeff Hobson as well. I get to meet him. I've got to learn from there's videos, there's guys, living legends. Michael Lamar is considered one of the best magic teachers ever. He's and I have old VHS tape of him, and I have some DVDs with him, as well as some of the other guys I've mentioned. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But there's a magician, Eugene Berger. He actually taught Jeff McBride. I had the pleasure of meeting him in Chicago and sitting down with him for a few hours talking magic with him. And every one of these guys, and tons classic ones like Di Vernon years ago, like from all walks of life. There's a ton of influence I've had. I read a lot of books, biographies, as well as instructional books, look to videos and things, and watch how these guys do what they do, and how they've put their routines together, and never to copy. You don't want to copy anybody and do exactly as they do, because then you're doing them. With magic, especially when you're trying to be your own performer, you want to be inspired and influenced, but not copy verbatim. When you do you're doing the impersonations, your object is to completely emulate that individual. When you're doing magic and you're being a magician, you're not impersonating that magician, and theft can be looked at very, very severely. So you have to be very careful. We all use stock jokes. There are stock lines that a number of us use, and we just have a different delivery. But to say that I'm influenced and I admire the people, the ones I specifically named, and again, so many others, I'm blessed to have been able to meet them and continue to be inspired by their older routines, their newer material, and everything that they've brought to the magic community in general.
That's very interesting. Do you have any form of training in performing or in doing magic?
No. The short answer is no.
Okay, good.
I've not had what would be considered formal training. I know you can go to circus school and clown college. Like if you do aerials, you can do that. A singer or a martial artist going to a dojo, or a dancer learning from an instructor. I did not have that. I've done a lot of self-study, and I mentioned my friend Adam Tarbox. I learned on my own, and with him, I learned a bit from him. I learned through him, and with him, he has a number of magic resources. He actually prevented me from falling into the trap of magic looks really cool, I'm going to buy this thing, and then it collects dust in the background. You never use it. He did all of that because he had a lot of magic stuff. And he ended up getting into what's known as mentalism, which is the more mind reading, and you don't need so many props for that type of magic. But the two of us learned, and we've performed together as well. So no formal classes, lot of self-study, reading and video watching. And when you watch a magic video, that's the thing you have to be careful of, is if you don't have your own style and you're watching it, you would have the tendency to want to copy exactly what you see. But that magician's delivery in the video is their delivery. It might not work for you. So it's better for having those videos when you really know how you're performing. To learn the actual technical part of the trick itself, they're invaluable, but you want to make sure you're not copying exactly what you see for something like that. So no formal training like going to a magic school or having an apprenticeship. And I know sometimes it's hard to find. I actually offer to teach people one-on-one, either through video or through in-person lessons, because I know if people are of an interest, well, where do you get started? And it's hard to know, well, what should it be? That video? Should it be this video? Should I get this big stage illusion, or should I start with a deck of cards? Or should I? So the experience I have now, I try and share that with up and coming magicians and people who are interested in the art form.
Here's a question that's, and funny enough, a lot of the people on my previous guests never had a form of training in dancing, performing whatsoever. For the last couple of guests I have, nobody.
That's impressive for dance. For dance specifically, for me, I admire people that can really dance.
You have talking about dancing. You have worked with a couple of Michael Jackson impersonators. Can you tell me more about those experiences?
So, for me, any chance to perform at all is an absolute pleasure, and those times were no different. I actually got to learn dance when I was a part of a show called Ghoul Masters Ghosts. I got to work with Pete Carter, who I believe you're also familiar with.
Yes.
Great Michael Jackson impersonator.
Yes,
had his own Michael Jackson-esque, like Michael Jackson Ghosts, the Halloween special Michael Jackson had, essentially a number of Halloween-themed music videos and mixed in with a theatrical, town versus mysterious man mini movie, essentially. He took that inspiration and created Ghoul Masters Ghost. I got to be a part of that. So I got to join the casting crew. I got to help design and build some of the special effects for the stage. I got to be one of the ghosts. He made me an angry magician, which was fun. And I even got to open the show for him. I found out through him, actually, that Michael Jackson was a big fan of magic and used illusions in his own stage shows, which I had seen a couple of Michael Jackson performances in the 90s on TV, and I didn't remember any magic illusions in those, but he had pointed me in the direction of some, and I was familiar with some of the illusions at that time, and it was cool. And to learn dance, which was hard for me. I understood rhythm, but knowing, like, to learn that type of hip hop choreography was completely not my wheelhouse. So it was awesome. And of course I got to share a stage with you.
Yes.
And those were awesome. It was not just performing alongside a talent like you, but also a friend, which made the experience like a more exciting hangout than just we're doing a show. It was like, what did you two do when you hung out? Oh, we just performed for a bunch of people, did a show. As you do.
Performer stuff. And I don't know. Do you remember the incident when before the actual first show, we had to change the dressing room?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We were overbooked or something. We had to move, and it was quick. It was everybody pulled together because I was helping out backstage.
Yeah.
And that was the cool part too, is seeing it from that point of view rather than from the audience point of view. Yeah, I get to do the show with you, and from my point, I'm on stage, but then getting to see your part from behind stage and also help out, which gives a different perspective to the show entirely, because you not only see the moves and the performance and the music and everything else, but you're seeing the backstage frantic energy, and trying to make sure everything runs with strict timing and make sure everything runs without a hitch. And even with that moving of the dressing room, we still pulled it off.
Yes, we did.
We pulled it off, and it was fine. The audience was great. It was awesome. The experiences have been awesome. I loved it.
And the one quote I remember you saying is, what are they doing in there? Are they doing a photo shoot for the bathroom?
Because we had the bathroom. I was like, I don't understand what photo. They're doing a photo shoot in the bathroom. It was confusing and made no sense at all.
Photo shoot. That's what it probably was.
But hey, it is what it is. We deal, we deal and adapt. We adapt with what gets thrown at us.
Ironically enough, I did the same show last year with my new casting crew, and it was a bigger venue, different venue. Same thing happened.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Was
Same
it
thing.
a different owner, different venue,
Yep.
same situation?
Mm-hmm.
We can't escape it.
No, we can't. I'm in a better venue this year, by the way.
Okay, good.
I don't have to do a whole.
I would double check with them leading up to the event. Like, no one else is booked, right? No photo shoot, no clown car, no acrobatics. Nothing is going on.
Are you sure? Are you
sure?
absolutely sure?
Man, no.
I use that place for auditions now. I don't go back doing shows. So.
Yeah. Well, no, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
It wasn't that it was a bad venue, but your show definitely has the energy to be in a bigger. It should be in a bigger venue.
Yes.
You deserve a bigger venue. So I'm glad that you've moved to a bigger and better place.
And
it would be weird if I just go, no, he's in a better place now.
He's dead.
No,
he's passed. That's
Easter, and he has risen. But no, the fact that you're in a bigger venue is good. I'm glad. Your show deserves a big spot.
I do got a question. Another question. I know it's not on the thing, but
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Musicians, who are your top favorite magic people? And
my
why?
Top favorite. Ooh. I mean, first and foremost is Jeff McBride. He's the one I've looked to. I was told years ago I looked like a young Jeff McBride. I'm like, there's a reason. The long hair, in his younger days, he had longer hair, the facial expressions, and I very much look up to him. I had the honor of meeting him in Atlantic City years ago, and I got to go table to table. It was in Atlantic City in one of those venues where everyone was sitting at round tables in a theater. It was in a theater, and there were like these round tables everyone was sitting at, and I got to do some table hopping before his show and performing magic, which was awesome. So him definitely one of my favorite magicians. Oh, this is hard. Top 3. I'm gonna have to say Michael Finney.
Okay.
Again, another guy I got to meet in person. Got to see him several times. Absolutely hilarious, wonderful, gentle heart human being. Incredibly talented. And I've had just wonderful conversations with him. In both about magic and just life in general. Really good. Third magician. I'm gonna actually use someone who's not just a magician. He's a variety performer.
Okay.
It's someone I've come to know. He goes by Pokey Poke the Jongolier. It's actually someone I work with in Ren Fairs. His real name is Frank Douglas. And not just because of his show, which my children love watching every year at the fair. He puts on an amazing show. Funny, talented, does a number of things, but has given me advice that I use with my shows for prep work, which has been world changing for me. So something that would sound so small and simple to somebody else, but it was good for me, and has been an all around fantastic friend. So as far as magicians go, I would say those are definitely in my top 3. I have a number of guys that I look up to and that I've met. Daniel Greenwolf is another Ren Fair magician who's absolutely amazing and astounding. Puts on a wonderful show. I've had the privilege of sharing a venue with him. Amazing. Become friends with him. He's given me advice as far as because he also runs a Renaissance fair. So I definitely think he deserves, if nothing else, an honorable mention. And there are a couple other guys I met recently, even in Arkansas. There was a guy who did a combination of juggling and magic, and I can't believe his name is escaping me. I feel horrible for that. He's on my Facebook list. I could easily find him online, but it'll delay the video and stuff. But I watched him juggle. He did a rope trick with knots, and then he removed the knots from the rope and proceeded to juggle them. It was awesome. But he mixed juggling and magic in a way that I've not seen before. So just I've met so many people. To really put three favorites is very, very difficult. Um, but a lot of the magic community has just been absolutely wonderful. Wonderful.
Talking about the Renaissance Fair, you have worked with a couple Ren fairs and currently running one yourself. Can you tell me a little bit more about those experiences and how did that start?
So I never thought I would be at run fairs. I liked going to them, but especially to perform and then run one, that is not what I ever thought would happen. Um, so I got to perform at the Lakewood Ren Fair. And I was a magician there for a few years. And then there were some things that had happened, and I ended up assisting or trying to assist it, and then ended up taking over as director. Um, I am still working on improving things. It is a work in progress, as most large events
Hmm.
are. But thankfully, something like this is not a one person task. I have a very, very fantastic team that makes things a lot easier, and they're wonderful. I have someone who's dealing with entertainment directing now. I have a wonderful vendor coordinator. Um, I have people who are going to who have and will be helping me again this year with advertising. I have people who help with the grounds and doing all of these tasks and constantly going, "Hey, what do you need me to do? What else can I do?" Um, so they make things. It's a lot of work. It's rewarding at the end, and the fact that everyone pulls together as a team is it's it renders me speechless with how wonderful they are. Um, as for some of the other fairs I've had the honor of performing at, it started the jousting troupe at Lakewood is the Knights of Valor. They perform everywhere. They've been on television before. Um, and the head of the group, his name is Shane. And because of what the jousters go through and everything they have to do to prep for the two times they joust, they don't necessarily get the downtime that some of the other entertainers during the fair get, so they can't walk around and hang out.
Yeah.
So they would do a dinner or something at the end, at night, or at the once the fair's done, we'll go out to dinner. Some of the entertainers will go with them, and so I was at one of these dinners and I did a little magic for the jousters, and he sat back and watched, like just slight smile on his face, and I couldn't read him, so I was trying to just concentrate on everything else, but he was watching what I was doing as well as their reactions. So in doing that, um, he had gotten a hold of me a couple days later. I can't remember if it was a direct phone call or it was Messenger, but he had gotten a hold of me and said, "Would I be interested in performing at his fair down in Alabama?" And his fair has since moved out of Alabama more recently, but I said yeah, and that was it. So a lot of events that he's involved in, he brings me in. I've met people in those events and gotten invited to other fairs. There's a couple I've gotten through my network and gotten on my own. So now I essentially travel the country to different parts of the country and perform. Um, I'll be I will be heading to North Dakota in the summer. I'll be heading back down to Arkansas for a fair down there. I have Lakewood at the end of the
All
summer
right.
this year here. I have Maryland. I go to Florida. I just got back from Wyoming. We went from Wyoming to Florida. It was 3 weekends in a row, and it was Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then Northern Florida, like up in the Panhandle, North Florida, for 2 weekends in a row. Um, but yeah, I've added more fairs every year. I get to travel, like I said, to different parts of the country and do this. Occasionally, I get to even bring my family with me. So this is some of the best times of my life is doing those, and it's a dream. It's a dream for me
It
to be able
is.
to do this.
And I'm so glad you get to do what you do because you're amazing at what you get. If you guys ever see Jack do his stuff, he's amazing.
Thank you.
He's always amazing. He's great.
It's good because I get imposter syndrome. We had the thing for like the most recent thing is I always try and do new magic every year for some of Shane's events. And I go, okay, I put some magic together. I'm like, this will play good, but you know, even if it doesn't go as big as I want it to, they always have like an aerialist or a band after me. Like I've never been the closer of the thing. I've gone like towards the end, but you know, still like what would be considered the middle
Yeah.
of the group, but towards the end. So the build up. And I'm like, okay, someone will go after me. And they sent me the lineup the night of, and they're like, hey, by the way, here's the lineup. And I'm reading the lineup, and I'm like, okay, here's the normal lineup, and I'm getting it. And then I get to the end, and I'm closing, and I'm going, is this, you sure? You sure this is for a different event? They're like, no, that's for tonight. So they trusted me to close the night out.
Hmm.
And it went off very well. I did my thing. I was in the moment, and then I left, and then I kind of had to calm myself down. And I met up with one of my friends afterwards, and he goes, "Did you not see what happened in there?" I said, "No. What are you talking about?" He said, "They all lost their minds." He goes, "You did awesome." Because they know that I'm very, very hard on my shows and myself,
Yeah.
so they know about this, and they'll know that I might miss certain things like that. So it was nice to hear. Um, it was cool. It was very cool to also know that they trust me to close out the show, and it's like, nah, he'll be a great closer. So it's reassuring. It reinforces that I am on the right path. Because as performers, we do get unsure of ourselves. You
Yeah.
know, when we're on stage, we're the most confident people in the world. Uh, Off stage and looking at our own performances, not always the case. We're very hard on ourselves.
Yes.
We strive to do the best we can. So
Well, is there any tips you can give any upcoming performers?
yes, and it's the same stuff that I tell myself. Do not give up on your dream. Do not chase the money. Do what you love, pursue it, enjoy doing it, put yourself out there, and the success will eventually come to you. If you're trying to get into somewhere, don't worry about being told no.
Yeah.
You will be told no. It happens.
Yes.
But you didn't have the gig beforehand, so being told no, you didn't lose anything. We have that fear of rejection. But if you're going somewhere, and you weren't already performing there, it's not like you were performing there and they told you now they don't want you. You haven't been performing there. They told you no. You didn't lose anything. You
Yeah.
didn't gain, but you didn't lose. So you're not, it's okay. Another opportunity will be there, or you'll make your own. Get a space, do a show, donate your time, and get your performing chops up. There are enough people out there for every one of us to entertain. So just go and do it.
Uh,
I think that's the best thing I could tell anybody.
this is the hardest question out of all of them. And I ask
Okay.
all my guests this question. Since
Okay.
I'm a Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury impersonator, do you have a favorite Michael Jackson or Queen song?
I Here's the thing. I have a couple, and they're not all the big name ones. Some of them are, but I have specific special reasons for them. So for Queen, for me, it's "We Are the Champions." And I know that's one of their bigger anthems, but
Yes.
it's because that resonates with me and reinforces what I say. Don't quit,
Yep.
persevere. The work is hard. Do it. You won't lose. Um, so it's one of those, like, even though it's not a fast, it's an anthem,
Yes.
and it can resonate, especially if you're like, oh, you know, you might not think you're on the right path. Put that song on, you know, don't, and you know, you are the champion. You are deserving of this. I do enjoy Bohemian Rhapsody, but that's because I do karaoke with friends and we sing that song together. So yeah, it's a fun song to do. But yeah, for Queen, it would be "We Are the Champions." For Michael Jackson, I enjoy the songs "Ghost" and "Is It Scary." Those were two of the songs that, at least versions of them, that Ghoulmaster's Ghost used for P. Carter's show. Thriller is fun because of the dance. And I used to, that was, you know, that was what Six Flags Great Adventure would do, at least for a while. I don't know if they still do, but the monsters would come out and we would do the Thriller dance. And I wanted to do that. So I learned Thriller and I got to do that. But in all honesty, I think Smooth Criminal's choreography is better than Thriller's. I think it's on a grander scale. I think the video is on a grander scale for Smooth Criminal than it is for Thriller. Both are classics, but for the Halloween thing, Ghosts and Is It Scary are I'm more partial to for Halloween. Uh, but one of the ones that's resonating with me right now for the current climate of things, especially, I have become very partial to the song Heal the World. I
Okay.
think we really need that. I think it's very much needed right now.
Yes.
We have there's a lot of us that are going through a lot right now. And I think that we need to remember that we need to look out for the ones that are closest to us, care about them, and those smaller acts of kindness will hopefully grow into larger ones, and healing can take place. However long that might take, no one knows. But um, but I think that song's lyrics still resonate today, just in maybe a different way than it did back when the song was released. So
Um, Jack, can you tell us where people can find you at?
I can be found at facebook.com/Jack Morrowin, JackMorrowin. I can be found, Legends of Lore is the website. Legends of Lore LLC is also on Facebook. That's where I'll have information about the Ren fairs. Um, but those are the two best places to reach me right now. I am still putting together a website, but the Facebook site has been working out very, very well for me. Um, and yeah, those are probably the two best ways to reach me. I'm open. I don't have anyone that runs the Jack Morrowin Facebook page for me. So if someone messages that page, it goes right to me. So if someone's looking for a magician to either learn from or have perform, at that point, send me a message. I typically am if I'm not traveling or working on some of the other projects, I do have some availability. The earlier people book, obviously, the better. Um, but yeah, those are the best spots.
All right. Well, thank you, Jack. It was a pleasure having you be on the show.
It was good to see you.
I know, right?
And even if it's not in person,
Yes.
it's fantastic to see you.
It was great talking to you. It's great having you on the show. I want to say thank you for being a part of my life, for the last many years,
Same, man,
even though
same.
we see each other, sometimes
Hey,
we
the
we have
connection
to.
is there. You don't need an everyday phone call to maintain a good friendship, man.
Exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the show. I'm your host, Buddy Katz, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.